Okay, now I've got a couple of assumptions about Jason Cup as a traveler, and I wanted to see
Okay.
if I want to see if I have you pegged. The first one you've already talked about. I was gonna say, I bet you're that guy that when the seatbelt light goes off, you're up, you're grabbing your bag, you're flying down the aisle, irregardless of everybody else, because you're the first one off the plane. That was my assumption, but it sounds like that's your biggest pet peeve, so I'm assuming you don't do that.
Oh,
So I was
absolutely
wrong.
not. I'm totally not that guy. No, totally not that guy. I will sit in my seat. Like I said, the wedding style, I'll sit in my seat until the people in front of me get up and deplane.
Okay, I'm the same way. Okay, you proved me wrong there. Okay, the other assumption I have is that you dislike children.
I love children, man.
don't
You know
like
what?
babies?
I'm not surprised you say that because you've actually tweeted this many times, and I know the reason why. And I'm not going to say the reason why because that tweet really caused me a lot of anguish. But I actually love kids. I love kids. I don't have children. I have Mr. Potato Head. So I love kids, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I love kids. Seriously, I'm going to go on the record. I love kids. I do not dislike children. Sometimes when they're crying around me, that is frustrating to me. Sometimes when they're eating around me, that's frustrating to me. Sometimes when they're playing around me and like throwing their blocks on my head, which happened to me one time on an airplane, that's frustrating to me. Sometimes when they're sitting next to me and they don't have parents that are keeping them in line, that's frustrating to me.
When they're breathing.
No.
I mean, when do you like children? When they're just sleeping?
No, I like kids when they're not sitting next to me on a plane, I guess, maybe is what I would say. Or they're not eating in the middle of an airport.
Okay. All right, let's move on. I got a new topic.
Okay.
Along with etiquette. Last time, my last trip I went on a few weeks ago, I went down to Dallas. Now, I always have this problem when I'm traveling. I never know what or whom I'm supposed to tip. Okay? Maybe you can help me out with this. So tell me who I'm supposed to tip and how much. So, and I'll give you a few instances, okay? First
Gotcha.
of all,
Go for it.
housekeeping in a hotel. Do I tip them?
Oh boy. The answer to that question, I think, depends on what type of trip you're on and what type of hotel you're in.
Let's say business trip for a conference, and it's a nice 4-star, 4.5-star hotel.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. I do believe that you tip in that instance, especially if you're going to be there multiple days. I think that it's beneficial if you're going to be there multiple days. And I usually tip on the first night, or the first morning, and I tip on the last morning. That's what I usually do.
Second instance for tipping. What about taxi drivers, cab drivers?
Absolutely 100% you always tip.
Really?
Yes.
How much? What do you tip them then? How much?
It depends on the scenario, but 10 to 20%. So like, for example, a month ago when I was in Chicago, I went to dinner with a client and they wanted me to keep staying and keep staying and keep staying. And they got me to keep staying by keep putting a beer in front of me. And so I literally caught a taxi in downtown Chicago. I think it was 45 minutes before my flight. 45 minutes, and I was flying out of O'Hare. And I got in the taxi, and I said, my flight's in 45 minutes. You need to get me there. And this dude, he just flew. And he got me there, and I got there, and I was able to get through security, and I literally got on the plane with 1 minute to spare. And I gave him a fairly hefty tip because he got me there.
Yeah.
But in general, if it's just a regular taxi route, I say 10, 15% is fairly customary.
Okay. So I really suck at tipping, basically, is what you're telling me. Next instance. A concierge at a nice hotel. Okay.
What did they do for you?
I'll just give you an example. When I was in Dallas, I went down there. I said, I wanted a place I could go to for breakfast. I just wanted to walk to breakfast. he hands me just a little list of names of restaurants with phone numbers and not much else. He gives me a few directions. Walk down this street, walk down that street, and you'll see it. Do I tip that guy in that instance?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't tip him. He didn't do anything. He gave you a printed list and didn't get you a reservation at the hottest hotel, or I mean the hottest restaurant or whatever. I only tip concierges when they really pull something off. You know, like I was traveling with my mom once, and I wanted to have flowers delivered up to my room. So I talked to the concierge about that, and he totally made it a really big deal and made my mom feel really great. So I totally gave that guy a tip. You know, but it's like if somebody's just going to give me a list of restaurants, no way, not going to tip. But if they give me a reservation, or they go above and beyond, and they really try to pull something off, it's really cool. Yeah, I'll give them a tip, and I probably would give. It's hard to obviously tip a percentage of that because you don't know what it is. So if they get me a reservation at a really hot hotel, I'll give them $5 or $10, or if they help out and do something cool like what they did for my mom, I think I gave that guy $5.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What about a valet that calls a shuttle for you? And that's all they do. They call a shuttle. Shuttle comes, picks you up, and that's it. You tip that guy that called the shuttle?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't. I would probably tip a valet in any other, scenario. If they're bringing my car up.
Yeah, right.
I don't like park my car ever, but I mean, if they were valet parking my car, I'd definitely give them a tip. If they call me, if they hail a taxi in a busy city, like in a Chicago or in New York, and it's hard to find a taxi, I'll give them a tip. But on a shuttle, no, because the shuttle's job is to take you somewhere, So I don't think that's tippable, if you will.
Okay. Anybody else you tip?
Yeah, I tip, like sometimes when I take a shuttle, okay, so I take a shuttle, and if the guy handles my bag, I'll give him $1 a bag. That's customary.
How do you feel about people talking to you on the plane? Are you a chatter? I bet you are.
I am rarely a chatter. In fact, Chris, I'll tell you, I am a sleeper on a plane. I usually fall asleep. I usually fall asleep before the plane takes off, and I wake up when the plane lands. Usually.
That's pretty sleep on the plane anymore. I flew back from, this is a funny story. I was flying back from Los Angeles from the Notre Dame USC game. And it was early on a Sunday morning. Just got on the plane, and I was with my brother. We're sitting there. I fell asleep within 5 minutes of boarding the plane. And I had this crazy-ass dream, and I yelled in my sleep. I, shrieked in my sleep because I was scared in this dream I was having. I think it was probably because I was hungover, too.
Okay, well,
I turned and looked at my brother, and he was just giving me this strange look, and I was like, did I just scream? He's like, yeah, and everybody's looking at me. So now I can't fall asleep on planes anymore because I'm afraid I'm going to scream in my sleep. Tell people about what we're doing next week.
Sweet. So next week, both Chris and I are going to be at Planet's Green Industry Conference, and Chris is actually speaking on Friday. So if you see this video in advance, go see his two educational sessions, right?
Yeah, starting at 1:30 to 5. Two of them back to back.
So definitely check him out. But on Thursday, the day before, we are going to be at the trade show, the GIE Expo, and we're going to be there all day long from early in the morning until the very end of the day. We're going to be in the Lawn and Landscape booth, so Lawn and Landscape magazine, and we're going to be interviewing all these green industry executives and leaders about what's going on in the economy and what their plans are for 2011. It's going to be an absolute blast. But it's going to be a fun time next week for sure. We're going to be pretty busy and be cutting a lot of videos.
And I'll just add that we're going to cut our first video together, live, for the video blog. So that'll be a hell of a lot cooler than doing these Skype things. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so here's one of the final things I want to say. So this was totally, seriously, we didn't script this, we didn't plan it. The only thing we knew is we were going to talk about, we knew we were going to talk about some travel etiquette things, but I didn't even know the questions you were going to ask me. This is kind of the test version of what we're going to do. We're going to test this out and see what's best. Totally give us feedback. Let us know what you want to hear. If you have questions or comments, tell us what you want to hear. If there's a topic that you want us to talk about, whether it be business or people or HR or funny stuff or current events or whatever, just throw it out there and we'll try our best to tackle it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say my goal is, to do more of the video where we're together meeting up in different cities, things like that on our travels, and doing the live videos together, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. Talk about some cool things. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you want to know more about Chris, hit landscapeleadership.com. If you want to know more about me, hit jasoncup.com. And I think we'll leave on that. Sweet. I'll do that too. And Mr. Potato Head says goodbye as well. So
goodbye, Mr. Potato Head.